governance, particularly by the Waitemata local board. There's been a continuing stream of constituents presenting at public forums complaining about the lack of community engagement by the board. I think this was particularly highlighted at the last event, where there were 12 speakers who covered that point. Here are some examples. I was speaking to one of the Waitemata community advocates, Sal Bullock, on the agenda for this meeting. She said that there were 6 matters on the agenda that she wishes to make representations on. I'm sure Gail will be speaking later on. She is not able to request a presentation, which would give 10 minutes for her to raise these, because they must be requested 7 working days before the meeting, whereas the agenda is only available 2 days before the meeting. Furthermore, in requesting a deputation, she would need to state a topic. This being the case, she has only 3 minutes via a public forum. The rules for the public forum do not allow a dialogue between presenter and board members. Board members can ask questions to seek elaboration, but more often than not, only one member asks any questions. Having said that, I noticed this afternoon it was only Sarah that asked questions of the 2 bids that are presented, whereas there were a number of questions to Mark Michael. I'm not quite sure why the disparity. Perhaps it's the fact the businesses aren't important to Waitemata.
No, that's very clear, Keith.
Pardon?
They were just very clear, Keith.
I hope that is the case. The 3-minute bell for public forum has been run inconsistently. At the last meeting, it was rung exactly at 3 minutes for some speakers and up to 4 minutes 45 seconds for others. Why the difference? Emails to the chair or members do not get a reply. As an example, after last month's meeting, I sent an email to the 6 members asking, as there was no seconder for the Western Springs notice of motion, there was no opportunity for you as a member to explain to the community why you were opposed to an investigation. Only 3 members answered, and only one of those gave a reasonable explanation. What can the board do about it? Well, for starters, the chair should interpret the standing orders permissively rather than restrictively, and should apply his discretion fairly and consistently. The standing orders need to be changed on matters such as deputations and dialogue between constituents and members. For all members, and especially the chair, to reply to constituents' emails within a reasonable period of time, say 3 working days. There have been repeated complaints from members of the community who just don't get replies when they raise matters. We need to implement a community forum at venues around the Waitemata and 4 other boards.
3 minutes.
Just about got there, Priscilla. So thank you for the opportunity to present this afternoon.
Thank you, Keith. Any questions from board members?
Yes, if there's no questions, I've got a few.
Yeah, up to 3. Sarah, that's the run.
I only have 3.
Great.
Keith, you talked about emailing a question to all of the Waitemata local board. I'm pretty sure I replied to that. But who did reply, and what was the explanation for not seconding that notice of motion?
The first thing, Sarah, I didn't email it to you because you actually moved the notice of motion, so I presume that you were in support of it, and you in fact explained yourself quite fully in the notice. So the emails went to the other 6 members. The 3 who replied were Alex, who gave a very full reply, and we exchanged a number of emails backwards and forwards, Adriana and Graham. Now, in Graham's case, his response basically was, because I didn't agree with it. He didn't elaborate on why he didn't agree with it. It just went into a black hole. I asked him to elaborate, and he didn't bother coming back to me. In terms of the explanation, I'm I'm sorry, sitting here at the moment, I didn't get a clear impression as to why Alex in particular didn't second the motion. However, I do point out, as I did in my presentation last month, is that good form would be that the chair actually seconded the notice, so at least it could be discussed. He could then subsequently vote against it if he didn't like it, but at least it would be in forum where members of the public can hear and understand what's going on.
Yes, that's usual governance practice.
My second question, Sarah.
My second question is with regards to emails. I mean, we receive two types of questions, broadly speaking. The first are, or two types of emails. The first are questions and others are expressions of opinion. How do you think we should be engaging with our emails?
Well, I think the questions are relatively easy because you either answer the question if you have the information, or you say, look, I'll have to check that and get back to you. Now, either of those responses is quite reasonable as long as you get back to the person when you have that information. When it comes to constituents expressing opinions, you can either have dialogue with them about it, but in many cases they're actually challenging you, in which case I think the best you can do is to say, well, thank you for your feedback, but at least you've acknowledged, you've given them a courtesy of actually acknowledging their email.
Sarah?
If I was to have a supplementary question to my second question, it would be what percentage of emails that you send to the local board actually get replied to?
There's certain, the chair, I'd say about half of them get replied to. On occasions, I have to send the email again with a bold second request written on it. Yourself and Alex are very good, and the rest of the members are very hit and miss.
And then my third question is, you've just put out a survey. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I'm doing another review of members' performance. Last time round, I gave a rating based on a criteria in my mind as to who was performing best and who wasn't performing so well. So this time I decided that I would actually ask people, meet people on my mailing list and who I interact with, what their views on who were performing best and who were performing worst. Now the survey is still running, and so it would be wrong to conclude anything at the moment. But the other question I asked was I listed out 7 or 6 items which asking what the constituents thought was the primary function of the board. Now, one of those options was to represent the community to council, and that in fact has been overwhelmingly supported by those who have responded. The next question was, how well do you think the board is performing against this criteria? And the answer is very clearly and loud and clear is very poorly.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Keith. Other questions from members? If not, I'll move that the Waitemata Local Board thank Keith McConnell for his presentation and attendance at the meeting. Do I have a seconder?
Graham.
Alex also.
Thank you, Graham. I'll put that. Those in favour say aye.
Aye. Aye.
That's
Aye.
now.